So today we are going to focus on security. For those of you who are joining us today and were not able to join us last week, as a recap, we actually focused on the capabilities of Microsoft Teams. And so today we are going to focus on how secure is Microsoft Teams as you use it as a platform to actually collaborate and work with your team members across your organization. And so as we work, we want to ensure that the data that we share is actually protected. We want to ensure that the privacy of our work is actually maintained and guaranteed. And so that is what we are going to focus on today. And join me in the next 20 minutes or so as we look at how Microsoft Teams is secured by the underlying technology of Office 365. Thank you. So I'll be sharing my screen and then we can be able to follow through together. So feel free to actually type in your question if you have one as we continue with the session on the chat button there. And then once I'm done with my presentation, then we can be able to answer some of those questions. So sit back and relax and let's see how Microsoft Teams guarantees that security and privacy. All right. So remember in my first session, I had indicated that Teams is that hub for teamwork that brings together people, conversation, content, along with the tools that make people work together and achieve more. And so the moment you launch Teams, the privacy actually starts from there. So by the time I'm clicking join or create a team, if I click on create a team, that is, I want to create a team for my colleagues, then the aspect of privacy starts there because I can actually choose to create a private team. And so as the team owner or as the team admin, I am the owner and I have the full permissions to actually invite only the team members that I feel that we can actually collaborate and work together. So that means the aspect of privacy starts the moment you launch Teams. All right, so let me not create a team for now. Then there are those scenarios where you belong to a team, but then you'd wish to have or limit some conversations to just some few of your team members. And so what Microsoft Teams does is along the channels that are part of that team, you can create what we call a private channel. So what happens is once you create a team, there'll be this general channel where everyone can be able to share ideas and have conversations. But then now there are those scenarios, like I've said, you'd wish to limit the conversation that you're having just for specific team members. So for example, if I'm in finance, I would want to limit, let's say, the conversation around payroll just to some few team members. So what will happen is I'll create a private channel. So I'll call that payroll, and then on the privacy aspect, then I'll change that to private. And then once I click next, then Microsoft Teams will tell me that, sorry, another audition. Okay, so let me just try that again. Add channel. Then I call this, let's say, and then I'll change the privacy to private. So when I click next, Then Microsoft Teams will actually now ask me who among the team members that are part of the team that I'm already part of that I want to include in this private channel. And as you can see, it indicates that this is a private channel, so only people you add here will see it. So that means as you start collaborating on Microsoft Teams, then you are assured that your privacy is guaranteed. Now, apart from that, we also have a Teams admin center, which you can actually, as an admin of an organization, you can actually regulate how staff members or even what you call anonymous users. So those are the people who are outside the organization. So you can actually control how they join in a meeting on your organization when you're having those Microsoft Teams meeting. So for example, if this is turned off, like we can see on this screenshot here, that means you can only admit people who are outside the organization if you have already added them as guests in your tenant. So in case you have not added someone in your tenant as a guest, and then they happen to get a link to your meeting, then that means Microsoft Teams will not allow them to actually join in your meeting. So that means you will not have unauthorized users or what we'd call unauthenticated users joining in your meeting. So that is the aspects of security and privacy. Then also on the admin center, you can also regulate what the guests will be able to do when you turn on this functionality. So there are those scenarios where I usually collaborate with the guests. And so if you now turn on the aspect of allowing guests in your organization, then from the Teams admin center, you can actually regulate what are the capabilities that they'll have once they join your team. And so what I would like to emphasize here is the moment you add a guest to your team, they will only be able to view the content that is on that team only. They will not be able to see other content or any other information or data that you have not added them on. So that is how privacy within Teams is taken care of. And so allow me now to show you how the technology around Office 365, or what we call Microsoft 365, actually now is employed to ensure that your security as you work on Teams is guaranteed. So we are going to look at some of the technologies that are deployed by Microsoft 365. All right. So we are going to focus on three scenarios or three areas around how Microsoft Teams is secured with the technology that is part of Office 365. Remember, we said that Microsoft Teams is not a standalone application that you can use for your meetings. It is part of an integrated experience which is called Office 365. And so Office 365 is built in with enterprise-grade security that now will be able to see how that security can ensure that you have that peace of mind. As you share information, as you collaborate, you have that peace of mind that your data and information is secure. That would mean that the aspect also of productivity will be improved because you do not have jitters that someone can be able to access your information. So we are going to focus on user identity. That is the accounts that your users usually use to log in. Then you are going to focus on how you can protect your data and information. And then from there, going to look at how Microsoft ensures that in case of threats, how that can be taken care of. All right. So we have what we call Azure Identity Protection. So with Azure Identity Protection, you can protect your users against what we call credential thefts or what we call phishing attacks. So in case someone or a malicious person tries to gain the credentials of users in your organization, then Azure Identity Protection will kick in and ensure that that is taken care of. And if we can just look at this screenshot here. So this is the Azure Identity Protection. And from here, you can be able to see that the technology or the tool has actually noted that we have 21 high-risk users and we have 3 medium-risk users. And then it actually tells you to investigate those users and, for example, reset their passwords because those accounts could be compromised. Then another beauty of that is it gives you a secure score. So this secure score means it checks the features that are part of your subscription and then compares that to what you have activated or configured, and then now gives you a score to ensure that your security is actually on a high score. So in case you have not activated some of those features within your subscription or within this tool that is Azure Identity Protection, then that means your score will be low. The higher you activate those features, then the higher the score you'll have. All right. So as you can see here, it will automate the detection and remediation of identity-based risks, such as identity theft. You'll be able to investigate risks using data in the portal, that is in the Azure Identity portal. And then you can also export risk detection data to third-party tools for further analysis. Then let's look at the information aspect. So within Office 365, we have what we call data loss prevention policies, which you can actually configure to ensure that you classify that data or information that you regard as sensitive to ensure that it will not be shared across either within your organization or even outside. And so I've prepared a short video here, which is actually like a demo. And let's see how that the DLP aspect actually kicks in when you have configured it on Office 365. So
the security compliance features built into Office 365. For example, data loss prevention. Here on the left side of the screen, you can see Megan, and she's going to send a private chat to Adele asking for a credit card number. So when she sends that chat to Adele, on the right side of the screen is Adele, and you can see that she's received the message. So Adele's then going to respond back with that credit card number. Now, passive DLP will kick in, and after a couple of seconds, you can see that the message was blocked. On Megan's side, she cannot see the sensitive content, and on the right side, it lets Adele know that she's made a boo-boo. Now, when she clicks on what can I do, it's going to tell her what happened, why the policy kicked in, and then she can override the policy and still send the sensitive data if she provides a justification. Now, it's important for me to note that this can be turned off via policy so that the justification cannot be entered, and we strictly just block it. Now, let's take this a step further. Over on the left side here, let's go ahead and go to team here, and I'm going to go to the launch event channel on a team. Now here you can see that Megan is going to type in a credit card number so that people can place a food order using her American Express card. And when she sends that out to the channel, after a few moments, again, passive DLP is going to kick in and then remove that credit card number from the channel message. So DLP works not only in private one-on-one chat or a private group chat, but also in channel messages inside Microsoft Teams. Now, if I go to my email as an admin, here you can see an email notification was sent from the system letting the admin know that a DLP violation has occurred. Pretty cool stuff.
All right. So as you can see here, you can leverage the aspect of classification that is built in within the DLP for Office 365 with 90+ sensitive information types, and that will help you to classify your data and information according to how you regard it as sensitive or confidential. All right. So then, like I've just mentioned a few minutes ago, Teams is part of an integrated experience, and so it has dependencies, for example, SharePoint Online. And so you want to ensure that as you share those files on Teams, remember when you create a team, what happens is on the back end, it creates a SharePoint site. So you want to ensure that as you share those files on Teams, that those files are also protected within that platform. And so what you can do is you can also classify your files depending on either their sensitivity or their confidentiality, and then you can configure whether, in case that file needs to be shared either outside the organization or not, you can indicate or can configure whether to warn users or even to block users from sending those files. So that means not only data or the conversations that are happening on Teams that can be protected, but also the files, the DLP aspect of that is data loss prevention will be able to protect those files. Then you have what we call information barriers within Office 365. So what this does is you can configure and regulate how information is shared across groups within your organization. So for example, if I'm in HR, you'd want to ensure that as an admin, you have a policy that ensures I will not share HR data to anyone within the organization because the data that I'm handling is confidential and very sensitive. So you can actually regulate that using the information barriers within Office 365. Then you have what you call Office 365 Advanced Threat Protection. So what this does is it will check in case, let's say you have added a user that is a guest user and they need to share a file. Then what this does is the ATP aspect will ensure that that file, in case it contains any malicious malware or any malicious content, it will actually not be accessible, so that that kind of infection will not travel across your organization or your tenant. So that means with ATP, you are sure that as you share documents, as you share URLs or links, then you are comfortable that no amount of just play that so that we see how this can be done.
One of the dangers of adding a guest to your team is that guest account, if it got compromised, that attacker would then have access to all of the sensitive information, files, and conversations that's a part of your team. So for example, if you're my marketing agency and I invite you as a guest and you get compromised, that attacker would have access to all of my stuff. So here as an example, we have Joanna. She works at my marketing agency, and she's going to click in the upper right-hand corner here and choose the tenant tenant switcher and switch over to My Tenant and log in as a guest. Now, when she does this, she is then going to sign into My Tenant as a guest, and she now has access to my team. So pretend for a moment that Joanna's account got compromised, whether it's through email phishing or otherwise, and now an attacker is impersonating Joanna and discovered access to my team as a guest. Well, that attacker can then come in here to my team and upload a malicious file and even exfiltrate data. We'll cover that in another video. But here's a good example of where that attacker impersonated Joanna on my team and said, at Megan Bowen, here's a draft of the go-to-market plan for upcoming meeting. Please review. And so Megan, on the other side, she will see that file and she's going to attempt to open it. So here it is right here, coming from Joanna, aka that attacker. Now, when Megan tries to execute that file here and open it, it's going to stop her in her tracks. She does not have the ability to open that file because Office 365 Advanced Threat Protection discovered that that file contained malware in it and was malicious, and we immediately denied access. Now, what's happening on the back end here is we're taking that file and we're detonating it in a secure sandbox that allows us to do this against different versions of Windows and Office, and allows us to monitor the behavior of that file. And in this case, when we went to go execute the file in the sandbox, it exhibited some malicious behavior, and we decided to block access to it. Now, this is made possible through Office 365 Advanced Threat Protection. And in the admin console here in the Security Compliance Center in Office 365, when I go to Safe Attachments for ATP, here you can see there's a checkbox to enable it for SharePoint, OneDrive, and Microsoft Teams. Immediate value that protects me against not only my email, but these other cloud properties across Office 365.
All right, so that is how Office 365 will ensure that your privacy and security is guaranteed when you are collaborating on Microsoft Teams. But then we have discussed about technology, and we have seen that Microsoft Teams can bring about that digital transformation. But then you cannot have a transformation within your organization if the people or the users in your organization will not adopt that technology. So you can subscribe to the best of the technology that we have in the world, but if your users do not adopt that technology, then that means there will be no transformation. So what Dimension Data does is, with its pool of security experts who will help you to configure the security angle, we also drive what we call adoption and change management. And we use this research-based model known as ADKAR. So what ADKAR means is we'll help you to drive awareness of the technology. Then what awareness will do is it will bring about an interest or a desire. And so once there is the desire within the organization about that technology, then we will come in and train, thereby passing knowledge. And so what knowledge will do is it will give the ability to your users to actually use that technology. And so what we'll do at the end is, or over time, is we'll do what we call reinforcement activities. Reinforcement activities ensure that we create what we call a sustained usage of that technology. So if it is Microsoft Teams, you don't want your users to use Microsoft Teams for a week or 2 weeks, and then they are done away with it and revert to their old ways of working. So that's how we usually combine the aspect of securing your tenant or Office 365 or your organization, and also drive adoption and change management. So that's it for me for today. Join me next week as we look at how we can drive Teams governance. So you're in a small or a large organization, you don't want an explosion of so many people creating so many teams. So join me as we look at how we can actually govern that. Thank you so much. So we can look at your questions and we'll be able to answer them. Thank you. So I'll take about 5 questions from you, and then those other questions that you may have, we can always compile them and send them to you across. So I can see there's someone talking is asking that if possible, we can talk about live events. Okay. So yeah, live events is supported within Microsoft Teams as a broadcast, where you'd want to reach out to so many of your team members. And what happens is Microsoft Live Events supports up to 10,000 attendees. So what happens is, I can just talk about that in a minute. Although we were, so this is how you create a live event. You give it a title, then you invite presenters and the organizers of the event, and then from there, Microsoft Teams will allow you to have a link which you can share to the participants, and then they'll be able to join in. So you can produce your live event either from Teams, that is, for example, from your laptop, or you can have what you call a decoder, where you'll have what you call various streams of feeds coming in, for example, from different cameras. If, let's say, you are holding a town hall, and then now that data or that feed will be ingested in a decoder, and then now your participants will be able to view all the happenings in your town hall meeting. Thanks. All right. Any other question? You can feel free to ask. If you find it difficult to type, you can just unmute your microphone and ask.
Hi, Michael.
Yes.
How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Great. Now, my question, actually, it's me who sent the question about the live events. Yeah. Now, my question is, how would you grant an external participant presentation rights to be able to present in your live event?
Okay. What you do is, if an external person, then one thing you need to add them as a guest to your organization, and then the other one is you will invite them either as a presenter or a producer of that event. So that means they'll be able to have the rights to, for example, to present to the audience in that live event.
Okay, and will that party, will they have to have an Office 365 account to be able to be a presenter, for you to be able to grant rights to them as a presenter?
No, you have already added them as a guest, so they don't need to have a license.
Okay, that was my question. Yeah. Well answered. Many thanks, man. Great.
Okay.
Cheers.
Okay.
Good morning, Michael.
Oh, how are you, Kevin?
Just a quick question. Do you... hello, how are you? Good to see you again. Michael, do you recommend, as Dimension Data as an organization, various security packages, applications, or consultancy around different companies based on their verticals related to their specific organization scenario? How do you go about it? Above and beyond the standard security that Microsoft Teams offer, but do you bring in an extra set of layers of applications, consultancy practices to support customers?
Yes, we do that. So what we do is we look at the requirements and needs of our clients, and then now we can propose accordingly on what they can actually add as a layer in case they may need more requirements. So what we do is, for example, like I've said, we may need to ensure that we look at how they can employ Teams governance. And so what we do is we can add more line of business applications or to ensure that they are able to leverage that. Thank you.
It's wonderful. Thank you, Michael.
Okay. Any
Hi,
other
Michael.
question? Hi.
Sorry, I've just joined the meeting today. I was just asking if you have shared the previous recording, because I find it very useful, and I would like to have maybe able to have discussed previous so that I can be on the line.
Okay, so we have our marketing team who are coordinating this, and they will be able to share all the materials and the recordings that we have done today, and also the last session that we had.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. If there's no other question, then thank you so much for joining, and I hope you have learned something about this technology. So join me for the last session next week as we look at how we can govern Microsoft Teams. And in case you may need further information or further assistance, feel free to reach out to us and we will be able to assist you accordingly. Thank you so much and have a good day. Thank you.